and straight away it crashed. Not a good sign. So today we are doing a RAM upgrade. Mostly an upgrade. It is faster, and but mostly I'm doing it because I'm switching over to a lot of the computers to 8 gig sticks, so that gives me an opportunity to take them up to 32 like this one. With the 4 gig sticks you're sort of limited a little bit. So it is faster. The RAM that's in here is way original RAM I had from the original R5 1600. Normally I get HyperX or Corsair RAM, but this was on sale, so I'll give it a go. So of course this is my main editing machine, so this RAM upgrade goes badly, we won't be seeing this video. I did run a real world test on it, just rendering up a file for YouTube, so I got a rough idea how long that takes. So I'd be interested to see if the RAM makes any difference at all. I can't imagine it'll make a huge difference. It's still the same amount of RAM, and it is a little bit faster, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if it makes any difference at all. So we'll try that afterwards, but first we've got to get it in there. And it does not feel like it's that long since it was on the bench like this. It's only these videos all get out of order when I film them, and then I do them in different orders, and sometimes they sit around for a couple of weeks before I put them up on YouTube. So it does not feel long since I had this one on the bench before, doing all the swapping around. I don't know what order they're going to be put up on YouTube, but we swapped the video card and the drives over this to make this into a Linux machine. Yeah, and so now I've got the 3600 on the Linux machine. It runs quite a lot hotter. I don't know if I've got a particularly hot 3600 or whether it's just 3600s in general, but this is a very hot machine. Anything, any use at all seems to get it up to high temperatures. So it runs pretty much 85 reliably whenever I do any rendering. So it's a pretty warm one, but it doesn't go any higher than that. Well, it probably does, but that's a fairly good cooler on it too, so it's a warm one, but it works, it's good. So we'll lay this up on here so we can get a good view, because it's very dark in here. We'll see if I can get some better light in there. We'll get these 4 sticks out of here, put the 2 new sticks in. Where's my 2 new sticks of RAM? Yeah, these are single-ended. I actually prefer the ones that have got the clips on each end, but I notice a lot of boards these days, they don't bother putting the clips on one end because the video card is going to be there anyway, so they only open up at one end. So we'll get set up, we'll put a camera, see if we can get a better view of this. So there we've got the inside of our very black machine set up. This one here I've got a, I think that's a 140 fan on the front. That's a Be Quiet fan on the front, blowing into the cooler fan, and then I've got that's the case fan that came with it, 120 on the outside, so it's got sort of a direct flow. I don't know, haven't really checked to see. It runs cool enough anyway, and I don't think the video card gives it any trouble. The video card doesn't work too hard on this machine anyway, so it's no big deal. But that's an additional fan I put in to Be Quiet at the front, which works quite well. Obviously not the original cooler, and the stealth that came with this 3600 was nowhere near good enough to keep it cool. I don't know if it's just this particular one I've got, or if they're all like that, but they really require a better cooler. In fact, on my main machine I put a AIO on it, and now it's got the 5600, which runs cooler than this one did, which is kind of weird. Anyway, if we look down close, we can see our RAM down there. If I can get the fingers in there. Like I say, this one's only got clips on this one side, so we can just clip them out. Changing RAM, it doesn't really get much easier than upgrading RAM or adding RAM. The main thing with RAM is if you haven't got all 4 slots filled, working out which 2 to put in first. You really want at least 2. to get your dual channel. If you've only got one, and some machines do supply with one, which is not good. You want to have at least two, and they'll have either the book or the sometimes on the motherboard. Sometimes they'll have a mark on the motherboard to tell you which slots to use first. And like most of these AM4 boards, especially this one, you want to populate A2 and B2 first, which is like away from the cooler. It's the second and the fourth slot. Then we just want to work out which way our groove is. You can see there's a groove there, a slot there, which matches to a marker in the slot. Get them matched up. I much prefer the ones that are slotted on, have a clip on each end, but you get what you get. Take a bit of pressure to get in. If the board's not mounted really well, it pays to get your finger underneath there to hold it up. This one should be fine though. Just clip those clips up. So same amount of RAM, still 16 gigs, only in this one's in 2 slots. And that's about all there is to the actual physical install. We'll get in the BIOS on the way when we load up and make sure they're running at full speed, because they'll have different settings in the BIOS. So that'll be the next thing we do after we get this thing back together and running. RAM is one of those easy things to do if you take minimal care, and not too much can go wrong with that one. So let's put it back together. Oh, so that was pretty quick. So, not sure if we can see our new bits in there from this camera. That's why I use the other one. It's a bit of a pain to use the other one, but yeah, I think it sees a bit more clearly. Okay. Put it back together and see if it goes. Okay, so we'll boot that up and get in the BIOS and set that RAM up. See if she posts okay. It may have to do a bit of training first. Should have the machine out where I can see it. It would be better. Got a green light. Okay. We have some RAM. That's registering at 2400. We've got 2 banks. This is one of the few boards I've got that's not actually no, I've got a couple of MSI boards that have got the totally different BIOS. This has got more of an old school sort of BIOS, so it's quite nice. It's advanced. Or is it in OC? It's in OC, so we want to check our DRAM frequency. No, we don't need that. There should be an XMP somewhere here. XMP. There's our profile. That looks right. Okay. Don't know why that's in red, because that's normal. All these BIOSes are always a little bit different. Save and exit. Yes. I'll reload that again just to make sure it's looking right. What's the matter, Weenie? Okay. RAM looks right. Tweaker again. Seems to be fine, assuming it boots. So, 3600. Let's boot into Linux. Let's boot into Linux. 5.15 Linux kernel. I'm still running Fedora Linux, and I probably won't change from my main machine ever, I don't think. I've been running Fedora ever since I stopped running Mandrake back in the day. Off and on. I have tried Ubuntu a few times. I don't have a lot of luck with Ubuntu. Wide connection. So we got some RAM. And we got updates. With Linux you do not have to do updates, you can sit them there till you're ready for them. There's no obligation to apply updates, and obviously the computer's running perfectly fine. Some of them may or may not be security issues, but they look like they're just ordinary, just updates of things. We'll do that later. So now we've got that in, we can run a render in Kdenlive. That way we can see if it's any faster, and plus we can see if it's stable too, because I don't even know if this motherboard will run that RAM at this speed. If it doesn't, then we might have to drop it down to 3200 or something. But we'll see if it's stable and see how quick it is first. We'll get an old file load up. Took about 9 minutes last time, and see if it crashes us or something. Get straight up the temperature really quickly. Normally runs around up to about 85, although it's pretty cool in here today. Can run up to 85, 82, 85 degrees just rendering. So that will take a little while, and we'll see if it's going. I might leave that run just in case it crashes. Not liking looks to some of those hardware messages, so we may have to slow this RAM down a little bit. Last thing I need is an unstable daily machine. Yeah, don't like the looks of those messages. That's up to 80 degrees. Normally it runs a bit warmer than that. And if there's not much difference in speed, which I suspect there won't be, I'd rather have a stable machine go down to 3200, which will still be faster than the 24 that was in there. Yes, way too many errors coming through there. So yeah, we're going to do some mods. I'll go in, I'll change that frequency I think on that RAM, and check the voltages. Because not all motherboards, memory and CPU combinations are going to be able to run at the same overclock frequencies. And like I say, most of my other machines only run at 32. I normally don't go above 32 on most of my machines, so, but it was a good test today to see whether it could go to 36. But I think I'll just take it back down to 32 like the rest of the machines. Because it's not doing this job any faster than the other. In fact, it might actually be slower, possibly because of the errors. So I think I'm going to reboot that and check those settings. Try that at 3200. A lot of times with some of the RAM, if you want to overclock to the maximum frequency, get out of it. A lot of times it takes a bit of trial and error. Usually the XMP will work, but yeah, not always. I wonder if I should try that 1.2. Yeah. Tempted to try that. Okay, so what have we got there? 1.3, 3200. Okay. See how she goes. Give that a go again, see if it's a bit more stable this time. Running a bit warmer this time. Interesting that it's definitely running hotter this time, that's for sure, than last run. Which could mean it's running better or faster. And I haven't seen any errors, so that's good. So that's at 3200, so yeah, there's probably somewhere in between 32 and 36 you can run it at, but I'm quite happy with 32. And the beauty about it is I can actually jack that up to 32 gig if I want to sometime along the way, but at the moment I'm not really needing it. It gets up, it will use up to 3/4 of what the RAM I've got there on a heavy day, but for the most part the 16 gig is fine, plus it's got some swap there you can use, and it's all SSD storage. So anyway, that was about $20 off for that RAM, that T RAM. I don't know if I would get it again. I've been very happy with the HyperX and the Corsair, so but then I haven't tried that speed RAM, any of the other brands either, so I generally only get 32, and I was about to buy the 32 HyperX when I saw this one come up on their listing for less money, for a faster speed, so I thought, well, I'll give it a go, because I'm always willing to try stuff. And considering it was cheaper than the 3200, I think, might have been the same price as the 3200, so running at 3200 is no big deal. It did end up rendering faster at the 3200 by about 8 seconds, so not a substantial amount of difference going from 24 to the 3200 RAM, and maybe the 4 sticks versus 2 sticks comes into it as well. So RAM is not a big issue, certainly on this workload. I'm sure you can find other workloads where that's going to make more difference, but I'm just looking at the real world situation that this computer is for. So the main thing I do with this thing that's going to take a lot of power or that I want to go fast is that particular workload. So it made no difference there. And in fact, at the 3600, due to the errors I dare say, it was taking like 30 seconds longer. So that was an interesting little test there. RAM speed, not a big issue for this, but that's okay. I can now, later on if I want to, upgrade this to 32 because I've got the extra slots now. So that's good. And I've still got this other RAM, which does not go to waste because it will go into some other machine, no doubt. Anyway. Changing RAM is fun, even when you do have a little bit of tricky testing at the end there. Of course, if you just put it in and just ran it at its default speed, which was 2400, then it's a non-issue. But there's no point in putting faster RAM in there if you're not going to get the most out of the frequency at least. So get in the BIOS and set the settings. Normally, like I say, default XMP profile will work, but this motherboard, older motherboard maybe, it just didn't like it. So it was mostly a quick little changeover, but a bit extra stuff there at the end to just make it a little bit more interesting. So that was fun. Subscribing and liking means more fluff.